Well, obviously another exciting day, and we're excited about the additions that we've been able to add to this class today, as well as the guys that we were being able to sign in December. And it's a crazy time in college football. I mean, so many things going on, so many happenings, different rules, different segments. But this signing class, the day doesn't change, and the amount of energy that happens today, the amount of excitement. Young men being able to have an opportunity to extend their academic career, but also their athletic career. And so we're excited about the additions that we've been able to add. Kyron Grayson, right here from Beggs, just an extremely good athlete, a guy that plays both sides of the ball, but, rarely comes off the field, multi-sport athlete, 6'1". I think he had like 8 interceptions this senior year. A bunch of those he returned for touchdowns. Same thing offensively. You look at him go play basketball and him, just his quickness, being able to explode off the floor, to be able to do so many different things. We're excited about adding him and what he brings to our secondary. You look at the other 2 guys that we've added, Montroy from Malone from Brazos Wood. This is a big athlete. He's 6'5", playing basketball, multi-sport guy as well, but a guy that really carries his weight well, a guy that we feel like has got a big ceiling to him, got a great first step, got great length, explosive with his hands, and can be violent with those at the line of scrimmage, which you have to have, but a guy that just gets in and out of things. Fits what we look for in our defensive linemen, to be able to play a 5, to be able to play a 4-eye, maybe even slide inside as he gets older and gains more strength as he goes through it. But this is a young man that brings so much to the table. And from an academic standpoint, it's a university that really fits him and what he's looking for. You go down the halls and you talk to his counselors and his coaches and his teachers, and all of them are talking about him. And what a good young man he is, and a representation of what they want to be. And then Connor, coming from Flower Mound, this is a tight end that kind of has a lot of different tools in his tool belt. A guy that can really get out and do a good job in a route combination, can stretch the field a little bit, especially up the seams from the tight end side of it, but does a great job blocking, being able to be an inline tight end. He's got great size and great length. Again, multi-sport guy. That is able to add some depth to our tight end spot. We're excited about what he brings to the table, coming from a good program and, a great family. And so we're excited to add Connor to that. And then we got a couple of guys that I didn't get to talk about in December. Jaden Simon, defensive tackle from Washington originally, and then went to Colorado and now is here with us. This guy, he fits that mold. I think he can play all 3 spots on our defensive line. He's got length, he's got size, he's got great quickness. He's already here working out. So you're seeing his body already change. He's got multiple years left to play. And so he's going to add a lot of experience and depth to our defensive line, be able to come in here, and plan on him being able to come in here and contribute now. And then Isaiah Epps, local kid here from Jinx that went to Kentucky and now is graduated and coming back. We recruited Isaiah out of high school and thought we had a pretty good chance of getting him then. And so they have the opportunity for him to come back home, play in front of his family and friends, and come back to his hometown university. I know he's excited about that. We are too. I mean, he's 6'3", he's got great length, great catch radius, can stretch the field, can play inside or outside, and brings, again, experience to our receiving core. And so excited about adding him. With signing day like it is, and the way college football and the landscape is the way it is, there's a few scholarships that normally we would probably be putting out right now, but at this stage, we're kind of keeping back to kind of see what happens on the portal and what continues to go. We're going to continue to add guys as we go through it, but, just adapting and trying to learn as this process changes, and we'll continue to keep doing that. But we feel like this is a great class. We've added great length. We've added speed. We've got a bunch of those guys that are already here on campus, and you can see what they're doing and how their bodies are already changing. We expect that same thing for these guys that are be coming in, in the summer. And so great class to build upon and continue to add depth, and excited about what they're going to bring to our program.
Questions for Coach?
Coach, you've had a pretty good hit rate, with guys out of the transfer portal. I'm wondering, for you, because it seems like, that feels like kind of a shotgun marriage, and you got to get things sorted out pretty quickly in terms of both the film and the relationship, and make sure that he's right for the university and right for your staff and everything. How do you do that in, a pretty short amount of time?
Yeah, it's difficult because, like you said, the portal part of it, some guys move really, really quick in there. There's other guys that jump in the portal and don't really find anything, and you never know which one you're going to find, right? So for us, just having the opportunity to try to, if there's a connection to the university that he's leaving, like if I know a coach there or somebody on our staff knows one of their coaches, somebody in their performance staff, reaching out and talking to as many people as possible, trying to get as much background as you can, reaching out to their compliance officer, seeing what has occurred, if anything, while they were there. Then we go to the high school coaches and try to get a good feel for what he was then, especially, you don't know how long he's been out. Everybody's different. Some guys are in there after 1 year. Some guys are grad transfers. So you got everything in between. So it's about trying to gather as much information, and then, watching whatever tape you can get your hands on at that point and seeing if he's a fit for what you do offensively, defensively, special teams. Does he fit into what you do? Is he a guy that can come in and contribute, a guy that's going to come in and continue to build a program? The big part of that is making sure they can get into school, make sure they can handle that, and then are they going to be a vital option for you when it comes fall? And it all has to happen in a matter of, a lot of times 48, 72 hours, and you're going to gain as much information as you can to see if you really want to jump in the mix with them.
Philip, from your experience and your staff's, is NIL impacting recruiting?
100% it is, on a lot of different levels. And so it's part of it. I am obviously for guys being able to, make money off of their name, image, and likeness. I don't know that right now we're in that mode, right? It's not just name, image, and likeness. It's just being able for guys to go out and create some different opportunities. And it's difficult in the landscape that we're in right now. And so, yeah, it's a big part of it for sure.
Do you have any top of your head suggestions to, and I know you're not the only one who feels this way, do you have any suggestions as to what needs to happen to get a hold of it before it becomes something that was unintended?
Well, I think we're already there to the unintended part of it. I just don't know at this point what restrictions or guidelines. I hate to use the word restrictions, probably guidelines, some guidelines that we could put in there to at least understand what the meaning behind it really was, and trying to get back to that part of it. Because right now we're a long ways from it.
Is a guy like Kyron a guy that benefits from having these 2 signing days? It looks like, according to his Twitter, the offer just came out last week. So is that a guy who benefits from having these multiple periods where you can sign?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, Kyron's been a guy that we've been on. We hadn't pulled the trigger on. We've been recruiting him. Had really good conversations and building relationships with him. But there is a place always, in my opinion. I'm still a fan of the 2 signing days, and whether we adjust one or the other to whatever it needs to be, I think there still needs to be 2. And perfect example of it is what has happened for him. The same thing with Malone. I mean, a guy that you just continue to get an opportunity to see more of and evaluate. With COVID and over the last 2 years, I mean, this break right here, this recruiting cycle right here is probably the most we've been out on the road and being able to go really put our eyes on guys, talk to coaches, be around, and get back to the recruiting that we're used to. And so I think from that standpoint, it's going to continue to get better as we are able to get back out on the road and evaluate and create those relationships even earlier.
More often than not, with some of these transfer portal guys, you've gone to SEC schools, and so it's kind of obvious why you'd want to do that. It just, the level of athleticism and play there, it's good to get kids who have experienced that, but it also seems like kind of tricky, right? If a guy thinks that he's just going to come in, walk on the field and be handed a starting spot or whatever, your guys have fit really well, it seems like, worked and paid their dues, the ones that you've been able to bring in. I mean, maybe speaking to Isaiah, and then just generally what you're looking for from a kid who comes from that level, but also has to fit in with your program.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, when we start these conversations with these young men, we're going to be really, really honest, because it's a fast-paced moving deal, right? And so I don't want there to be any gray area in the way we talk about things and what we're looking for. I tell them exactly, these are our needs, these are our wants. There are difference between needs and wants. That being said, I'm not going to guarantee you anything. We're going to come in here and you're going to earn it. We're going to work. And that's what our program has always been built upon. And I want them to understand that when they come into our program. And we've had good success with that. As far as the SEC part of it, to be real honest with you, Caden, I mean, I didn't even realize that until you brought it up, that there's several of those guys from that conference in there. I mean, we're really looking for guys that fit our needs and guys that we feel like schematically, offensively and defensively, they're going to fit into what we do and how we do it. And so it's really more of that. It's ironic that it has, now that I think about it, we have taken several from that conference, but I don't think we're only looking for those. We're looking outside of it and everywhere across the country, and we're trying to find fits for us.
You mentioned guidelines, Philip, with regard to the NIL situation moving forward. What about the portal? Again, I don't know if you want to use the word restrict, but has it reached a point of critical mass in terms of, look, we've got to get a hold of this so that it just doesn't become out and out free agency?
Well, and what you're saying is correct, right? Could there be some guidelines around it? I think there could, right? Not trying to restrict guys if they want to get in the portal and they feel like, looking for a different opportunity, looking for this, looking for that. Maybe I made a bad decision coming out of high school, whatever that might be. The opportunity to transfer is there. That being said, can we put some guidelines around it to where, maybe we say these are the couple of windows that this can happen in, right? And not be a full open all year long type deal. Because I think that can cause so many other distractions and things that kind of go on. And so I think there's a way that we can at least narrow that a little bit and say, hey, we understand, we're a part of it, and we're good with it. We just want to be able to understand where we're at, because at some point, me as a head coach and us as a program, we have to be able, for health and safety reasons and others, to be able to build your roster and know this is what your roster is going to be when you enter the fall. And that is the scariest part of all of this, is things can happen really, really late. And when that happens, you may not have an opportunity to get your roster back in a situation to be prepared for the next season.
What's your level of faith in outlets to get these type of corrective measures done? I mean, is it, the NCAA is in a weird spot right now, isn't it, with their new governance and there's a tenuous factor with regard just to the NCAA itself. So does the movement to make the corrections come from your industry, from the coaches? Does it come from conferences, or do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it needs to come from the coaches. It needs to be coming from our industry. whether that is the conferences, whether that is the presidents and the ADs and the chancellors, the people that are actually dealing with it each and every day could probably bring some insight to that, right? I think Todd Berry and the AFCA do a great job of trying to push information, suggestions from us and others, and submitting those to the Football Oversight Committee and whoever else. But I think as we continue to move forward, there needs to continue to be a presence of, the head coaches across the country and the athletic directors across the country, just to make sure everybody understands the decisions that we're making, and not just right then, but how is that going to be affected a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now?
Right.
Trying to have a little bit of foresight into the doors that we're opening and how those things play out.
Do you have faith that everything will correct right now? If I asked you,
Well, I hope so. I believe in people and I believe in this game, and we have a great game.
right?
And I want us to continue to have a great game. And so there's a lot of smart people out there, and we need to make sure that those people are being heard and suggestions are being made, and we can continue to build upon the direction that we're going. I'm not talking about restricting everything and cutting things away. I'm talking about just being able to put some guidelines around it,
Right.
where it can benefit everybody and continue to keep our game strong.
Yeah, the idea is right. It's just the execution, like a lot of things, right? The execution is creating some issues.
It is, and we're working through those, and obviously you want to be proactive instead of reactive. But I think when you look at it from the standpoint of the health and safety part of it for our student athletes and for our programs, you look at it from the academic side of it and how that is going to be affected as you continue to keep moving through that. At the end of the day, whether you call them student athlete, collegiate athletes, whatever the new term is, I think it's collegiate athlete now. These young men and women being able to come and get their education and get their degree, because as you know, the majority of them are not going to the next level. And that education is going to open up a ton of doors for them. And we need to keep that in mind as we kind of work our way through all of this.
I was looking through your recruiting classes since you got here last night, and in just about all of them, at least those first few that have now come of age, you got NFL guys. It started with Trevis and Reggie in that very first one, and you got 3 guys going to the combine this year, and now Jackson's off to Baylor, but he's almost certainly an NFL guy. You've recruited NFL guys just about every year, and that was not the norm for Tulsa. I think you guys, the last 2 years, had as many first 5-round picks as Tulsa did from '94 until 2019. So would you put that mostly on talent identification, finding those diamonds in the rough, and, not settling for guys who don't have pro measurables, if you will? Do you put it on mostly talent development, relationship building, just in recruiting? What has worked for you, because you are producing, a lot of NFL guys for this school.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Caden. I mean, I think it's a combination of all the things that you just talked about. I think our coaches have done a good job of evaluating talent, right? Evaluating some guys that may not have all the stars and all the hits on, Rivals or 247 and other websites. These are guys that, whether we've gotten to camp, whether our relationships with coaches kind of led us down a path to say, hey, this is a guy that you need to evaluate. I think he could be something more. I think he has a really high ceiling, those type of things. You've got to see the potential growth in that young man and what he's going to bring. And I think our coaches have done a really good job of that. The other side of it is, I think when we get young men in our program, I think our staff, our performance staff, across the board, we do a good job of developing that talent, putting guys in positions to be successful. You take a Zaven Collins, you can put him in some type of box, right? But for him, a guy that played quarterback and free safety, and now all of a sudden he's a will linebacker, to be able to kind of foresee that a little bit and then develop he's got all those skills available to you, but you still got to help develop those parts of it, right? Whether you're talking about Chris Paul this year, JJ, Tyler Smith, others that kind of fall into that boat. I mean, I was at the Senior Bowl yesterday, being able to watch Chris practice and did an outstanding job. But I think the development once they get here is so crucial about that. We know we're going to put in work, and our guys do a great job of coming in and putting their head down and working and grinding and being goal-oriented about what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. And we've got to continue that. But like you said, over the past 7 years now, we've been able to hit on a few guys, and to see them being able to live out their dreams, that's the ultimate joy for us, to watch them go on and continue to be able to play this game at a really high level.
Forgive me if we've already touched on this. I don't think we have. Have you talked about promoting Luke to defensive coordinator yet? I don't
think I've talked to y'all about it yet.
I don't think so. Yeah, you want to hit on that?
Sure. I'm excited about Luke Olson now that he has been appointed to our defensive coordinator spot. Luke's been here a long time. He's a local boy, and he has just diligently worked and grown and matured and grown in the industry, grown in what we do here. It was just a natural selection for us. Luke was a part of all of those meetings and an integral part of all those meetings when we switched and kind of started playing the defense that we're doing now. Obviously, there's more people playing this version of it, but ours is unique to us. I think with him, he has the respect of our players and our coaches. He's a guy that has been a major part of what we've been able to do here. A young guy, but highly intelligent, very motivated, very self-driven, kind of old for his years, if you will. But I felt like as I talked to a bunch of different guys out there, guys with a ton of experience, defensive coordinators, guys that have been in good programs and this and that, and we had great interest in that. But the more conversations that I had with Luke, it just seemed like it was the right decision at the right time and the right fit for our guys defensively. I'm talking about our players. And for me as the head coach, for him to come in and be able to do this, I think it was just the right time and the right fit. And we are extremely excited about him and what he's going to bring to the table. Obviously, we're going to stay in what we do. Everybody's got their own twist to it. He's going to add some stuff, take away some stuff. But really excited about him becoming our defensive coordinator now.
I was going to ask about that interest. How far around were you guys looking? Or was it a pretty easy fit internally, did you think? Or did you interview some guys from around the country?
No, I interviewed guys around the country. Luke and I obviously talked after the bowl game, and we're able to sit down and kind of go through the whole interview process. I mean, sit down, put him on the board, ask questions. Obviously, there's some of those things because we've been together for a while that are different than another interview for a guy that has never been here, haven't coached with, hasn't seen our kids, hadn't been around our kids, doesn't really know what we do defensively. He's just bringing in his version of what he does. But we had interest across the country with a lot of guys, and was able to kind of narrow that list down, interviewed quite a few. And, at the end of the day, after thinking and praying on it and doing what we need to do to make sure that we're making the right decisions for our program and for us right now, Luke was the one that just kept coming back to me, and it felt right.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.